Inside Rogers Place, it's the panel brought to you by Sport Chek. Tom Gazzola, Jack Michaels, and Bob Stauffer from the Oilers Radio Network. Guys, we're going to start the morning off with some good news. Cam Talbot activated off of IR. Nick Ellis sent back to Bakersfield. Perhaps a good sign here, wouldn't you say, Jack?
Well, I think it means that Cam Talbot likely will play against the Minnesota Wild, who will be starting a backup in Alex Stalock. Now, it's also a backup that just shut out the Toronto Maple Leafs and became the first goalie to do that to the Leafs all season long. So the matchup may be not as lopsided as first would appear. I do think Laurent Brossoit had played well, especially in the last 5 games. I think certainly in the loss to Nashville, you could not lay any of the 4 goals that were scored at his feet. So moving forward, I think Edmonton has some stability at the backup position. Brossoit regaining confidence, and now it's up to their leader, Cam Talbot. And he is one of their leaders to kind of get his game back to where it was last year.
Yeah, it's funny how things work, Bob, heading into this Minnesota matchup, which is a noon start. How the backups beat the Oilers, and then they chase a couple of Vezina goaltenders, the Vezina winners. It's just the way the bounces go, I would say.
Yeah, the 2 losses were different for me, and I do agree with Jack. I think LB acquitted himself fine over the course of the last 5 games. The other thing to keep in consideration is I'm told that the prices right now for goaltenders, if you were theoretically to look for one.
Like an Aaron Dell?
Well, I mean, he's going to be a big-time guy. Maybe he's the next Starling or the next Talbot. But even guys in a rental, the price point is pretty significant. But the 2 losses, again, for me, completely different. Against Toronto, I think Edmonton played really well, had a ton of A-grade scoring opportunities. Curtis McElhaney made some saves. Sometimes pucks hit him, and then pucks hit the post. Against Nashville, and Nashville is a superior defensive team and a better team right now than Toronto. The A-grade scoring opportunities, even though Edmonton had 22 shots, they didn't have a lot of tremendous chances in the first period, and they blew opportunities for odd man rushes. So that was a game where I think that the shot totals maybe flattered Edmonton a little bit. Certainly against Toronto, the Oilers deserved a better fate.
All right, so they head into Minnesota. The Wild are 17-11-3, have won 6 of the last 7, 4 in a row. How do we see this matchup?
Well, first of all, Minnesota started to get healthy. I mean, the Oilers, you know, it's funny how the schedule works. This season, Edmonton hasn't seen teams like Minnesota and Anaheim in the early going. Well, those clubs are starting to get healthy, and as a result, they're starting to track upward in the standings. And we know Bruce Boudreau, year in, year out, fields a winning team on the ice. And the Wild have thrust themselves back into a playoff spot. Devin Dubnyk was part of that. He's now out with a lower body injury, and it's up to Stalock to kind of carry the mail, a guy who didn't get a shot the last couple years after being a serviceable backup in San Jose for a number of years. So he can play. I don't know whether he can play at the level he did the other night against Toronto, but Minnesota is always a tough out. The Wild swept the Oilers last year in the 3 meetings. Granted, they got Edmonton on the back end of a back-to-back a couple times, but they're a good, solid team. They're kind of like Columbus and Nashville light. Strong puck possession, pretty challenging coming out of the corners.
Stuff, if the Oilers are going to try to make some hay here, it's going to be against Western Conference opponents, and now we're going to see a ton of them.
Well, yeah, 15 and 16 games against the West, but if they're going to make some hay, they got to kill penalties at home, and they got to get stops in the PK at home. Right now, Edmonton's got a 700 save percentage on the season through the first 15 games at home on the PK. To put things in perspective, the league average is 870. They're just marginally below the league average on the road in terms of save percentage. So they got to get some stops. That's not all on the goaltenders. They got to get this figured out, as Jack's mentioned too multiple times in the broadcast this year. The Oilers have already given up more goals while being shorthanded this year at home than they did all last season. And that's part of the reason why they're 5-10. And you know what? They got to figure this out because the fans deserve it. Our fans in this market, they deserve to see some wins at home. And I'll tell you this, if you can't win at home, you're not going to make the playoffs. So they got to start getting a turnaround.
All right, we'll see if the Oilers can get back into the win column tomorrow at noon in Minnesota. Jack and Bob have the call for you on 6:30. Chad, Chris Westcott has got you covered right here on EdmontonOilers.com.